everyone. We have with us a man who's been in the industry for more than 20 years as an investor, and before that he was a founder, a serial entrepreneur turned investor. He's invested in the Silicon Valley and in Hyderabad. So let's jump right in and talk to the man of the hour, Miten Mehta. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Vinita.
So tell us a little bit about Spinta and how did this whole journey from an entrepreneur to an investor start?
Sure. So I would like to quote what President Obama said when he visited India earlier. He said that the innovation for the first billion people is going to come from Silicon Valley in US, and the innovation for the next 5 billion is going to come from countries like India and China.
Nice.
Purely because India and China have kind of problem that US doesn't have based on the population and the kind of challenges that they face. And hence the excitement about investing in India and coming back over here in India. And the reason is that I think timing is right, as we see a lot of factors coming in together. Also, if you look at the entrepreneurship over here factor, out of 100 people who are getting graduate, I think there are jobs only for, as we are finding out, 10 people.
Right.
And I think there are 90 others where they'll be forced to, one way or other, to go out and look at entrepreneurship as a serious option. And our interest would be to go out and see if we can leverage our technology domain, our experience of having gone out and done startup, hopefully things that we have learned both from successes and failures, as well as our ability to go out and adapt. And if we can bring that to the entrepreneurs over here, and we would love to invest in some of the smartest people that we have found over here in India.
So Miten, as an investor, when you look at a startup, like what are the factors that attract you, or do you go with your gut feeling? Do you go with the team, or what is something that makes you go like, let me invest in these guys?
Sure. So great question. I think three things: entrepreneur. So I would like to bet on the jockey than on the horse,
Right.
because it is the jockey that I think makes all the difference. The technology aspect, the business model aspect, the revenue model aspect, all of that you can only impart as a mentoring or as a part of guidance or advisory to the entrepreneur if they are willing to absorb like a sponge. And hence I love entrepreneurs who are more listeners, good listeners than more talkers, who want to go out and actually be like a sponge and absorb as much thing as they can learn from all of us. We would love to work with some of those entrepreneurs who understand deep domain experience from whatever vertical they come from, be it media like what you are, or be it from manufacturing or retail, healthcare, education, etc. But it really kind of boils down to the entrepreneur.
So I understand that you're sector agnostic, right?
Yes.
But if you would have to bet on a technology or a sector or something that is like the pet peeve right
Correct.
now, what would it be?
So again, I mean, barring what I already said, that I would rather bet on the entrepreneur than on what sector they would be. But we are generally excited about few sectors. For example, I think the whole payment network that the country is building out. There's a whole new generation, your demographics, which are not going to shop or pay for things that they buy the way our generation did. Like my son hardly goes out essentially to go out and shop. Everything what he
Right.
does is on mobile. So for instance, so we believe that generally that there's going to be a huge inflection point that is going to come in the way the whole payment network in the country is operating. Plus, there's an opportunity to go to the middle of the pyramid and bottom of the pyramid with the whole financial inclusion. And there's a whole series of startups that are coming up which are doing the peer-to-peer lending, the angel investment, the mobile banking, the new licenses which are given by RBI. So I think if you look at that whole what I call the fintech space is very, very exciting for us, and payment space in particularly is very exciting. I'm advising and investing in a company called Atom Technologies, which operates, for example, the largest payment network in the country with almost 50,000 merchants.
Yes.
So companies like those, I do believe, are going to go out and redefine the way the new generation, what I call Gen Z, is going to go out and...
Nice. So you've invested in startups in the Silicon Valley and in Hyderabad. So in the spirit of entrepreneurship, what difference do you find in founders from the West compared to the founders of the East?
I think the difference earlier I used to find was that the general averseness towards failure. I mean, it used to be stigma over here earlier. I feel more and more that is getting changed. I used to find more entrepreneurs who would go out and say, I want to get married to a particular girl, but the parents won't say yes just because I'm an entrepreneur, and
Right.
that means there is no stability. But I think that impression, I think I'm finding more as I'm coming to Hyderabad, even Pune, even tier 2 towns, I'm finding that to be changing. One area where I feel the Indian entrepreneurs beat Western entrepreneurs is into the frugalness. I think the way from their ingenuity, the way they do what they call jugaad or fickleness, right? The way they are able to come up with a solution. The other day I was in Bangalore, I met this guy from Cardio Labs, and they've come up with a cardiovascular lab design, which is almost at a 1/10 of the cost of what you get
Compared to the
for
West.
instance. Exactly. So I think these are the kind of solutions or innovations which are going to go out and redefine what India used to be, in terms of having 36% of the GDP 200 years back. I do believe that next 10, 20 years are going to be the golden era or golden age of
Yes.
Indian entrepreneurs.
So you've been the face of investment literally for Indian startups, but you've also been a mentor. If there were like 3 pieces of advice you would want to give an investor to choose a mentor, what would they be?
That's a tough one. I think first and foremost, choose a mentor with whom you have a trust, and the trust comes from ability to go out and believe that what the problem is and what the solution you are trying to solve, and that is the best way, or there is an opportunity to go out and solve the problem, and that also comes from deep domain expertise. You can't be in EdTech and have a
Right.
by and large, a mentor from health tech, for example. So having the deep domain expertise certainly goes out and helps. I think that's number one. Number two, I think always, as I said, focus on the user. So people who go out and talk about everything else other than user, if you don't have user adoption at a POC level or a beta level, I think the rest of the cards just fall apart. So I think it is very important to choose a mentor who focuses with you on the user adoption and not on anything else. Because there are a lot of distractions when you're mentoring or when you're doing angel investment about like who owns what part of the pie, and I want to be on the board, and power equation comes in.
Right.
I think try and avoid, and I think the third thing is, in my opinion, you have to find somebody who's going to be equally passionate about what you're doing, if not anything else. Because I think unless they don't share the passion, there are going to be
Yes.
highs and lows in the life of an
Yes.
entrepreneur, and it is important that your mentor is somebody who's like a sparring partner, whom you're able to, like a coach, as they say in the boxing jargon, whom you're able to go for motivation.
Yes.
But if your mentor himself requires motivation, then I think there's some problem. So those are the three.
Thanks so much. A few lines on conferences like TIE ISB. How are they shaping the startup ecosystem?
So I think this is brilliant. This is humongous. What TISB is. This is my first TISB. I believe this is the 7th or the 8th edition. Of course, I've been to Hyderabad. I met you folks last month at August Fest. I think what TISB is unique is because it is bringing government on one side, which is the government of Telangana. Telangana. Thank you. I was about to say Andhra. So the government of Telangana together through the T-Hub initiative and themselves,
Yes.
it is going out and bringing a lot of educational institutions like ISB, for example. It is bringing industry associations like TIE, and then it is bringing the entrepreneurs and venture capital and what I call the rest of the startup ecosystem together on a single platform. So this is very unique compared to the rest of the other forums, where you find one of these 4 important pillars missing.
Right.
So the government is there, the academia is there, the industry and the trade association is there, and the rest of the startup ecosystem, which is the entrepreneurs. And so this is a very unique platform in my opinion. And the quality of entrepreneurs, the quality of investors, the quality of speakers that I saw today, I think I'm simply amazed. I think this is as good as what it gets rest of the world.
A message that you have for Startup Hyderabad, the media company where we blog about Hyderabad startups which are tech-based.
So, you're at the right place at the right time and make the most out of it. I think there's a quote which says that the 3 enemies of any entrepreneur are coffee, procrastination, and monthly salary. So beware for coffee, beware for procrastinating, don't procrastinate your startup, and obviously don't get succumb to a monthly salary. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Miten. Every time I talk to you, it's one level up. I'm just so inspired by you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Vinita. Thank you.